Okay, what we're looking at here is the electromagnet out of a battery wall clock from Walmart. You can buy the clocks for about $3.50, the whole clock. Here's kind of the box. It's all stripped down. All I wanted to get out of the box was the magnet. I threw everything else away. There was more plastic that came off here. I just snipped it off with some side snippers. And down here, if we can get this close enough to the camera, this glass tube, that's a reed switch. And what I've done through experimentation by connecting this LED you see right here is just a continuity thing. It's telling me when the reed switch is on or off. See, if I flip the switch over here, I've turned off the coil. I'm starting with a 3-volt power supply, just 2 AA batteries. I'm running it through this resistance box, and if you're not familiar with them, it's simply a way of selecting different value resistors to throw in series in a circuit by just turning a knob. It's a lot quicker than breadboard and plugging parts in. So I've got that 3 volts running through a 1000 ohm resistor, and the coil is still able to activate the reed switch, and I'm drawing right now 2.61 milliamps. And if we want to see how many volts that is, I'm going to have to change my meter from current to volts. Let's hook this back up. There we go. Let's go to DC volts. Let's see, where are my 2 wires for that? That would be, I'm trying to remember. I think it would be this one and this one. So right now it's getting 0.32 of a volt, and it's able to trigger the reed switch. Now what I've done is another thing that you probably aren't familiar with. Is this little teeny round thing right here. That's a magnet. It's about 3 millimeters in diameter, and it's slightly less than 1 millimeter thick. About a boatload of them off eBay, dirt cheap. And you can do permanent magnet biasing on reed switches to make them more sensitive. And by playing around, just sticking it willy-nilly, get the light on now. If I take this magnet away, you can see the lights out. It can no longer trigger at that low voltage and that low current. Let's turn the resistance box down. Okay, turned on again. The 150 ohm resistor in there without the little reed relay. How many volts is that? Let's get on there like so. That would be 1.27 volts. So without the magnet there, well, if you want to know the current, we might as well measure that too. 1.27 volts without the little magnet, and let's hook the current up. That's at 10.34 milliamps. So big difference between having the magnet and not having the magnet. I'm going to try to do one thing that's even more bizarre. Let's open the circuit and try placing the magnet in such a way that the reed switch is on. And now let's see if by applying power we can get it to turn off. I think typically when you do this, you probably should reverse the polarity. What we're trying to do is to change a normally open reed switch into a normally closed, so that when the electromagnet is activated, you actually turn it off. And I didn't have to reverse it. I put them back the way they were. So I am able, and imagine if I played around with that. I'll show you what I mean. Open circuit, no power to the coil. You can see the LED is on. The reed is normally closed with no power. Now when I apply power to the electromagnet, the reed opens. So by placing a little teeny magnet, and you're doing it on the metal lead ends, they actually conduct the most magnetism, you're able to change a normally open reed switch into a normally closed. Just a handy thing to know. By moving the magnet further away, almost any position further away, I don't have any current draw, so something is, oh, had the high-low switch on, I believe. Right. So now I have it again where when you apply power to the coil, the switch turns on. When you remove power, the switch turns off. And by adjusting the placement of that magnet, you should be able to adjust the sensitivity every time I make it more sensitive. Of course, every reed switch will be different. I'm flipping the magnet over to see if that makes any difference. It doesn't look like I'm getting any better results on that end. I'm going to try putting the magnet at the other end of the reed switch and see if we can get any better results or different results. That's normal. Can still control it. Oh, yeah. We did go a little further. Oh, yeah. Okay, now I've got a 1,000 ohm resistor in series with the 3 volts, and you can see as I add or remove, turn the coil on and off. It does kind of depend where you place that magnet. I guess once you found your good spot with the magnet, you could then, what are we drawing? Milliamp wise, we're sitting at about 2.5 milliamps. Voltage wise, it should be off now because I've got to hook stuff back up. If I can get in here. Guess it would help if I turn my meter on. That's about 0.37 volts, so half a volt. So I'm able to control the reed switch with this electromagnet with a half a volt. So anyway, if you ever need to build a super sensitive relay, I would just start with the electromagnet from some electric clock guts, and get yourself a bag full of little very small reed switches. They're all going to be different. Some of them require more magnetism than others to trip. If you get one that doesn't work, just grab another one out of the bag. The first 2 that I tried in this video, which, you know, I stopped the video, wouldn't wouldn't trigger via this. Some of them are more sensitive than others, I guess is all I'm trying to say. And once you've done that, then the really fun part is the adding the magnets, being able to change it from being normally open relay to being a normally closed relay, and being able to change it from triggering at 1.5 volts clear down to 0.5 volt. So if you ever have need for a super sensitive relay, clock guts, there's a couple of ways of doing it. There's another way to do it, which involves using an old style VU meter, analog meter, dial meter, whatever you'd like to call them. But that's a different build altogether.